Good morning. My name is Sibusiso, and I'm a member of the board and also the finance committee. Welcome to our service. Unitarian Universalism encourages an open-ended search for meaning in life and a commitment to asking our values to shape our actions. We are a pluralistic religion that draws wisdom from many sources. We welcome all people into our community of whatever age, race, class, ethnicity, ability, sexual orientation, gender identity, or religious background. We especially welcome those of you who may be worshiping with us for the first time. We invite you to join us after service downstairs for coffee and snacks so that we can get to know each other. Guests are welcome to participate in any activities in our community. If you would like more information about the congregation, or if you have any questions, please ask any board member or Reverend Patrick Price. Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Thea Sadlick, and I'm here to talk to you about connection circles. Sunday morning worship is where we come to be ministered to in a large group, and connection circles are where we come to minister to one another in smaller groups. Connection circles, which are called chalice circles or covenant groups at other UU congregations, are groups of approximately 9 people who commit to meet regularly to get to know and be known by one another. These groups will be meeting at various times. Some will be open to anyone, and some may be based on how members identify themselves, such as under 35, LGBTQIA, or perhaps there's a team whose members would like to know one another better. At least one circle will be exclusively on Zoom, and we hope many, if not all, will be in person with a Zoom option. Connection circles essentially provide the opportunity to learn and practice deep listening, to develop friendships, and to build community. They also provide the opportunity to explore topics which may help us in our own search for meaning and to better live by our UU values and principles. Connection circles may provide what many of us long for, the possibility of intimacy and ultimacy. Connection circles will begin meeting in early 2023, and because we have the busy holiday months of November and December coming up on us, we need more time to prepare. And part of our preparation is finding and training people to facilitate, and I think we may have enough people to co-facilitate each of the circles. Trained facilitators are very important to create safety in which to be yourself and to share more deeply. Training and practice and support are also very important to empower facilitators with training, facilitators with the skills and the confidence that they're going to need. So I'm here to ask if anyone has the experience, skills, or interest in learning how to facilitate a small group. We would love to talk to you, and would you please join us on Tuesday, October 25th at 6:30 p.m. in the boardroom. We will have a Zoom link if you aren't able to join in person. The link is on flyers downstairs, and it'll be in next week's UU News. If you can't attend and you would like to talk to me or Anne Marie Tody or Mike Wilcox or Kathy Murdy, are you here today? Would you please stand if you are? Thank you. In case somebody hasn't met them yet. We are your current Connection Circle planning team. Thank you very much for your time.
Bright morning stars are rising. Bright morning stars are rising. Bright morning stars are rising. Day is a breaking in my soul. In my soul. Our opening words are by Lawrence E. McGinty. To this house we come, bringing our boldest dreams, seeking here the inspiration and strength to make them be. To this house we come hoping to bury broken dreams, to be sustained through their pain and discover new ones amidst their tears. We come here lonely, isolated from meaningful human contact, searching for warmth and closeness and care, needing to grow beyond plateaus of the commonplace. We seek here challenges and commitments productive of greater wholeness and deeper meanings. We come intense and constructed, hoping for encouragement to shed our pretenses and to be ourselves. Filled with despair and self-doubt, we seek affirmations, prodding us to say yes to ourselves and to life. Somehow, always putting happiness ahead of ourselves, we enter this place trusting that what happens here will enable us to make and accept a little bit of it now, today. Strange place, this house. Here we cry, sing, laugh, hurt, dance, touch, survive, celebrate, grow, search, doubt, hope, rejoice, pray, trust, care, learn, think, wonder, be, become. Yes, this morning, to this house we come. Please join us in our unison chalice lighting. Days of the challenge. May our chalice flame bear witness to the inherent worth and dignity of every human being. In the midst of uncertainty, may our chalice be a beacon of encouragement, that our values may guide our choices. Let us look first to the response of love. Please join us in our opening hymn, number 360 in your hymnal or on the screen. Here we have gathered, and rise as you're willing and able in body and spirit. Please remain standing and join us in our responsive reading. Number 540 in your hymnal and on the screen, The Peace of Autumn by Rabindranath Tagore. We begin. Today the peace of autumn pervades the world.
In the radiant noon, silent and motionless, the wide stillness rests like a tired bird.
Spreading over the deserted fields to all horizons its wings of golden green.
Today the thin thread of the river flows without song, leaving no mark on its sandy banks.
The many distant villages bask in the sun with eyes closed in idle and languid slumber.
In the stillness I hear in every blade of grass,
In every speck of dust, in every part of my own body, in the visible and the invisible worlds.
in the planets, the sun, and the stars, the joyous dance of the atoms through endless time.
Please be seated. And now is time for our message for all ages.
Hey, it's good seeing you all today. Oh, the mic is not on. I always forget that. So, I'm going to be honest with you all today. When Pastor Price kind of asked me what are we going to talk about, I said, you know what? I know exactly what we're going to talk about. And I had him an email ready with everything on it. And then he said, good, I'm going to talk about this. And I said, oh, poop, I'm going to have to change a whole bunch of stuff here. And I never really liked exactly what I changed it to. So I'm going to ask you guys to help me out on this, okay? I'm going to ask you some questions. We're going to talk about a few things, and we'll see if we can work out a message together. Does that sound fair? So, first things first. This is all make-believe. This isn't actually happening. So, what if the church started a new policy, and they said, you know what? We like most people, but if you have blue eyes, we don't like you, and you can't come to church today. What do you think? Boo? Yeah, boo. 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 We'll get to why here in a minute. I think we're going to circle around on this. Just bear with me. What if they said, and I know two of you, at least two or three of you are going to be like, no. What if we said, if you skateboard, you can't come to church? Because you might break a bone. You might fall and break a bone, and then you can't walk up to your chair, or dance, or stand up and sing the songs in the church. So you're right out. How does that make you feel? Boo. Yeah, boo. Right, exactly. So these things aren't real, right? We don't happen. Because if you look in here in our order of service, we have 7 principles that we go by, right? Now, the first principle, this is where I started kind of figuring out, like, I'm not too sure I know exactly what we're going to do. So we're going to talk about this together. The first principle says, the inherent worth and dignity of every person. Now, there's some big words there. Can anybody tell me what inherent means? Go for it. Gain something. Yeah, a lot of times you hear it like, Grandpa's retiring from the business, so I inherited the family business, right? So you got something, inherent. Now, this was the one that I kept thinking about comic books about, worth. How do you define worth? Inherent worth. Yeah, I know. You about raised your hand, and then you said, I don't know. That's a hard one to define. So naturally, I went back to comic books, because that's what I do. And in Norse mythology, and in Marvel Comics, there is a character who holds a hammer. And on his hammer, it says, whosoever holds this hammer if they be worthy, shall possess all the powers of Thor. If they be worthy. So now we've got something we can work on, right? So we've got something that says, if they be worthy. So what makes Thor worthy to wield the hammer? I know this is a stretch, but I'm really working hard on this. Never mind, you don't want to talk? That's fine. Yes? He's not. He's not. Because it says, if they be worthy. And that means that there could be multiple people who are worthy. Like Captain America in the movie. So worthy must mean that they have something. There's something about them that is good. There's something about them that is strong. There's something about them that is brave. So to go back to this inherent worth, that means that the inherent worth and dignity of every person. So that's trying to say that everybody has worth. Everybody has something about them that's good, right? And these little fake rules that we talked about, blue eyes and skateboarding, that kind of goes right against that. So, how many people have heard the term namaste? Yep, I know. Yeah, all the hands went up out here. How many people know what it means? Oh, a few more hands. Anybody? I bow to a God in you and a God in me. Yes?
The light in me sees the light.
That's the one that I've heard. But I'm sure there's a lot of different... Yeah, go ahead, Rowan. Yeah, go ahead. I see the cheek in me and I see the cheek in you. If we were in England, that might mean something different, but we'll accept it here, okay? So, our first principle says that no matter who you are, no matter where you're from, you have worth and you have dignity and you belong here. And our church is not going to say, just because you can't walk, you can't be here. Just because you have blue eyes, you can't be here. But some people do say that, don't they? There are some people who kind of say, you know what, you're a little bit different, you can't be here. So what are some things that you would say if you hear something like that going on? That is not right. Stop being mean. Sometimes it's going to take a little bit of courage to stand up for not only our rights as people, our inherent worth. Sometimes it's going to take a little bit of courage to stand up for other people's rights, other people's inherent worth. But you know what? That's just part of growing. That's just part of learning. Here at the church, we learn all about 7 principles. I assume we're going to talk about more of them. I haven't really seen that far in advance. But this week, we're going to talk about the inherent worth and dignity of everybody, because everybody has a place. My mouth is really dry, and my water's back there. So we're going to go downstairs in just a minute. I want to leave you with a little quote, and it is by Brene Brown. And the quote goes, "To wake up in the morning and to think, no matter what gets done, and no matter how much is left undone, I am enough. It's going to bed at night thinking, yes, I am imperfect. Yes, I am vulnerable. And sometimes I'm afraid. But that doesn't change the truth that I am also brave and worthy of love and belonging." We are all brave in our own ways. We are all worthy of being here. I can tell that I've talked too much because we got some extra stuff going on. So let's get sung downstairs and we'll start something else up.
have someone from our Pastoral Associates and the Joys and Concerns book? Well, we'll go from here. We have a Pastoral Associates care team who brings us a lot of really important services. And the team assists the minister, myself, in extending care to other members of the congregation who are in special need. They do this by walking with you as you navigate life's challenges. As we gather today, we are aware of the hidden joys and sorrows and concerns and milestones in all of our hearts. In time of sharing, we take a moment to read from the Joys and Concerns book those personal life events which may have been shared by those with us. Do we have the book? Thank you, Barbara. Laurie McCollum has shared with us, thanks to all who helped writing postcards last Sunday to encourage environmental voter turnout. Join us again today if you can, she says. So anytime you would like, this is out in the front foyer and is available to you, but anything you share here is public, so be aware of that. Do we have anything online? No? Okay. I'm sorry? Okay, sorry. So let us become aware of the energy that brings us together in beloved communities. We share this time of silence. May we open our minds and hearts to a place of quiet and silent prayer for the healing pain and balm of love. We also introduce this as a time when we come together to share our generosity with each other and with this congregation in creating an offering, which is a sacred act, a setting aside of things for that which is special and important. If you would be so generous, and if you wish to donate online, you can go to our website, uucqc.org, and at the bottom of the page there is a donate button. Please join us now as we take the collection, and as you wish to, feel free to come forward to light candles in memory or in hope and prayer. Dory J. Summers offers us these words to reflect on. We all of us build houses for our dreams. The masonry and lumber, glass and tiles, a solid form wherein we see our hopes, a shelter and protection for our growth. This house shall be a dwelling place for courage, for integrity, for love, engendered, nourished by a family that speaks of we and means all humankind. These walls shall represent the privacy and dignity of individuals, the open doors, a welcome to all people, all ages, and all generations. The windows shall keep light of inquiry illumining our outside and within. May all words spoken here be born of love and energy rekindle in the hearts of those who dreamed this house, who plied the tools, who paid the price to actualize the dream. May dreaming never cease for those within who know the world to be a troubled place, but dare to struggle with imperfectness toward that brighter hope, that better day. Let memories add warmth, a heritage, a quilted patchwork stitched with history, a kindliness of daring for the good, of funny moments, jokes, smiles, and tears. This is a precious place, as every home that shelters those who love and strive and share. Its blessing is in lives that meet within, in living, learning, caring, sheltered here. Please join us in our hymn of meditation, number 15 in your gray hymnal, The Lone Wild Bird, or on the screen, and rise as you're willing and able. Now, because I tend to be distracted when I'm up here paying attention to things, did the offering actually get taken this morning? Yes. All right, good. I'm just checking. We always want to make sure that happens, you know. It's important. Sometimes things get missed, and that's not one we want to miss. Because we all want the opportunity to be generous. If you open the front of your hymnal, open up the front of your hymnal. It's an instruction. So if you open it up, in the beginning, there's this page here. All right, for those of you online. And it says, "We, the member congregations of the Unitarian Universalist Association, covenant to affirm and promote," and that lists what we refer to as our first 7 principles. And the first of those is the inherent worth and dignity of every person. We covenant to affirm and promote the inherent worth and dignity of every person. Now, in spite of what Mr. Ken said, inherent does not mean that which we inherit, although we could inherit it. It's that which is inherently a part of who we are. That is. So let's clarify that. Now, this sentence in our principles seems to be obvious to many of us, and yet its message is one of the defining characteristics of Unitarian Universalism in contrast to many, many other faith traditions. This first of our enumerated principles, along with our seventh principle, respect for the interdependent web of all existence of which we are a part, is one of the two most commonly known and repeated by us. Now, I think that that's because those two make statements that are essentially existential in their nature about the nature of reality and human beings and things, and all of the others in between are about how do we actualize those. So I think if you think of those two as sort of bookends or pillars, and the other five in between is sort of the arch that explains how we live those things out. But it must be important to us, or else it would not resonate so strongly across time and place. In understanding this first principle, I find three words are central: inherent worth and dignity. Webster's New Collegiate Dictionary says that which is inherent is involved in the constitution or essential character of something, belonging by nature or by habit. Now, when looking up this last piece, belonging by nature or habit, it really caught my attention, because what it says to me is that we can make something that's inherent or more inherent by our actions or our habits, as well as recognizing them as an essential part of our very being. So in addition to affirming our free will, this has an important implication for us, which we'll come back to later. Now, at first glance, the definitions of worth and dignity look to be almost the same. They hold subtle and causal differences. According to Webster's, worth is the value of something measured by its qualities or by the esteem in which it is held. And dignity is defined as the quality or state of being worthy, honored, or esteemed. Now, I read this as worth being the reality of having value, and dignity as being a state resulting from having worth. In other words, dignity is the consequence of worth. By putting all three of the ideas together, we are affirming and promoting the essential and acquired value of every person and the resulting honor and esteem due to them. Now, I find this very interesting, but you may ask, so what? And where did this come from anyway? For Unitarian Universalists, this idea of inherent worth and dignity came from our Unitarian forebearers who rejected the orthodox view of a complete depravity of humanity, whose only salvation could lay in re-achieving innocence, purity, and perfection through God's grace. Rather, they felt that there is in every person an essential quality of goodness rather than inherent depravity. This was not the same thing as saying no one was sinful or going to pay eternally for transgressions not rectified. But it did lead to a considerable amount of optimism at the part of New England Unitarians in the 19th century. Eventually, the distinguishing observation was made that while Universalists held God was too good to damn them, Unitarians held they were too good to be damned. Soon, the transcendentalist offspring of Unitarianism, of which we today are direct descendants, took this idea to the next level by pursuing the perfectibility of the soul. While the idea of perfectibility eventually fell away, the idea that we can and should endeavor to be more of what we essentially are has held. Character, or remember, I said the definition of inherent as habit was important. Well, here it is. Our essential worth is not our essential perfection. By recognizing and supporting, by affirming and promoting the inherent worth and dignity of every person, including ourselves, we can make this quality even more present inherently. I think it's a pretty neat trick. And yet, it is a matter of faith to hold this affirmation. Often almost more faith than we can muster. I would say, given the last 6 or 7 years of our political reality, more faith than we ever imagined. Given the state of our world and our lives, it often takes a lot of faith to believe and affirm in our heart of hearts that we and others are inherently worthy. I caught myself channel surfing yesterday and came across Fox News, and I really had to affirm a lot of inherent worth and dignity in watching that for a few minutes. I dare say that for most of us, it often takes more faith to affirm someone's inherent worth and dignity, especially after they have just royally ticked us off, than it does to believe that they are really a miserable worm who we hopefully will rot in hell that we don't believe in. It is harder to feel affirmed ourselves when we have done something which in our souls we are sick about. This is why we covenant together and have each other in community. To help, to remind, to heal, and to affirm when we feel weak or afraid, when we have lost our faith. We Unitarian Universalists rightly take many philosophical and political stands and support many causes which affirm and promote the worth and dignity of people all over the world. Yet we often forget to practice it with each other, at home, at work, in volunteer activities, and in our congregations. At the same time, we are sharing the ideas of our faith. We have a need to practice them first with ourselves. Like our own hearts, which pump oxygen-rich blood to themselves first, we, you, I, as individuals and as a religious community, must be the first practitioners and recipients of this affirmation of our own worth and dignity. No matter whether we understand our inherent worth and dignity to be of a divine or human origin, we cannot experience it if we are not aware and alive to it ourselves, for ourselves, and in regards to others. We may have all the inherent worth and dignity we could ask for in some abstract state, but unless we treat ourselves and each other that way, it is not a lived or manifest reality. It's like human rights. If no one is enforcing them, they don't really exist. Unfortunately, in many institutions like churches, where people often act out their most basic needs and insecurities because they feel safe doing so, we can forget this, and we can create situations in which individuals become polarized around issues or personalities which, while they may or may not have their own merits, they basically have little or nothing to do with the intensity of the underlying hungers or fears behind them. I know this is something that you all have experienced both individually and collectively in recent years. A ministerial colleague of mine once offered a story that illustrates this behavior. Apparently, she and her then new husband were spending a day at home together, decided to make some muffins. After several frustrating hours and heated exchanges about the different ways and the right ways to make muffins, they stopped in their tracks with a flash of insight. Whatever it was they were upset with each other about, it most certainly was not about the muffins. Later on, they said in their marriage, it became a byword about, well, this isn't about the muffins, is it? These are not experiences unique to any group of people in the world, but they are a part of our common humanity. I know many of you see this type of stuff in your workplaces, your voluntary groups, and perhaps your families. All of us often forget the great charge we give to each other to affirm and promote our inherent worth and dignity. Now, heaven knows I forget. And I may dance my own anxieties, eventually discovering again that it is myself I have wounded most deeply. Even as I may have hurt others, I have clothed in my own shadows. It is interesting to me that if those things or people or conditions which I may feel are the externalized indicators of or even perceived equivalents of my own worth and dignity are somehow threatened, that I may reactively pass my anxieties on to another, and in consequence deny the reality of their worth and their dignity. As a person who works in what is commonly referred to as a helping profession, one of the many major issues that we are constantly reminded about by our peers and our mentors is the issue of self-care, of taking care of our personal health and welfare, and of that of our support systems. In this vein, I commonly encounter an idea which at first seems to be noble and altruistic, but is actually rather unhealthy and codependent. I know many of you heard something of a statement like this: well, if you don't take care of yourself, you can't take care of whoever, whatever else, right? Now, there is often some literal truth to this. If we don't eat, sleep, exercise, we will not be there in any shape to meet our obligations. I have 2 school-aged children, and I know that if I don't take care of my health as a man of a certain age, I won't be around to be there for them in the long run, and I really would like to do that because they would need me, and I would like to be there. But the reason to take care of ourselves is not because we owe it to some outside agency, whether it is God or a family member, or for some that may seem like the same thing. You all have family members who think they may be God, right? My dad used to say, somebody would say, "Oh Lord," or "Oh God," he'd go, "Yes." We take care of ourselves because we are inherently worthy, powerful, and precious, and holy. As the Reverend Mark Bellatini has written in one of our well-known benedictions, number 686 in your hymnal, if you want to look it up. Take care of yourselves as bodies, for you are a good gift. Now I got to say, when I read that, I choke up. Take a minute. Let that soak in just a little bit. What does it mean if you are doing the self-care of your being, not because you have to slog through another day at work to pay your rent or take care of your kids or meet your internalized version of someone else's expectation of what you think you should be doing, but rather because you are a piece of the sacred cosmos and you love and respect yourself for it. Because we are embraced by the womb of stars, with the remnants of their fiery furnaces are still pulsing through our veins, because we are a good gift. One of the hardest exercises I ever had to participate in, and still occasionally do, is to look in the mirror and tell myself that I love myself and that I am worthy, and looking into my own eyes in that mirror. It's hard to do sometimes. Now, some of you may not have that much difficulty. Good for you. But for a lot of the rest of us, it's intimidating. And I know that in my own case, it not only lifts my spirits and my mood to remember such things, but that it motivates me to do more of that which I know to be right for myself, such as getting to the gym to work out or eat right, and saying yes to emotionally healthy relationships and such, and say no to those that are not. I do not always manage to stay aware, but I try to remember, and embrace that as well, without guilt. I seek to be as humanly excellent and wise as I can be, and to cherish and respect myself even when I am in my doubt and despair. If we do not own the reality that at the core, that at our cores, our own worth and dignity are already essentially intact and present within us, and are not dependent on things or conditions or people external to ourselves, then we may inadvertently project our fears of insufficiency onto others. If we are not acting out of our sense of our own worthiness, then we are less likely to be able to affirm the worth and dignity of others. So how do we stop this from happening over and over again in our lives? How do we not do this? How do we become more affirmed and affirming and less fear-driven? Well, one of the things from my past training in hypnosis has been reinforced is that, as with any other human activity, we generally become more proficient at those things we practice being proficient in. It makes sense. So we become more fearful by being fearful. Conversely, we become more affirming by being more affirming. My own experiences and intuition tell me that by actively and consciously affirming others, not only do we become more affirming of them, but we become more accepting of ourselves. Also, as we work to be more affirming of ourselves, we are more able to affirm others. It creates a feedback loop. Not only does form follow function, but function follows form. What we do shapes who we are as much as who we are shapes what we do. As Ralph Waldo Emerson warned, that which dominates our imaginations and our thoughts will determine our lives and character. Therefore, he says, it behooves us to be careful what we worship, for what we are worshiping, we are becoming. There's another older statement that says, be careful what gods you worship, lest you become like them. The oft-quoted author, Henry James, offered his advice to his nephew Billy, saying, there are three things that are important to human life. The first is to be kind. The second is to be kind. The third is to be kind. What the repetitious nature of this advice by Henry James does for me is to remind me that this kindness is not a noun, a perfect state of being we arrive at. Rather, it is a verb, a constant exercising of our being in the world. The purpose is not to be enduring, self-martyring saints, but rather to be more empowered and empowering human beings, to make our worth and dignity more inherent by our habits as well as our natures. This is the quality I see when many people in the Hindu and Buddhist traditions bow to the worthy, the holy in each of us. Namaste, as was said earlier. The Baal Shem Tov, the legendary founder of Hasidic Judaism, is reported to have said that we all have the divine spark within us, and it is up to each of us to blow that divine spark aflame in each other. As 19th century Unitarian luminary A. Powell Davies wrote, each lighted by the same precarious, flickering flame of life. Now, affirmation is not an attaboy backslapping encouragement with the endurance of a 15-second commercial. It's also not some vacuous reiteration of things. It is also not a 15-minute sermon or a 20-minute one. It is a religious discipline. It is a way of life. It is a practice. And as Unitarian Universalists, it is our discipline. It is a part of our way of life as individuals and as a religious community. Part of the purpose of small group ministries, especially covenant groups, connection circles, is to provide places and times that intentionally allow and focus us in methods of consciously practicing this affirmation. We will not be perfect in this, and we will often forget or let the urgent overwhelm the important. And in interim ministry, one of the things we often encounter is the urgent overwhelming the important, and we have to try and find balance for those. We can't ignore the fact that the roof may need to be fixed with the fact that we also have to build community with each other and renew our trust with each other. What we can do, though, is to commit to practice of remembering to remember when we remember without guilt. We will remember to remember when we remember. As human beings, it is the best we can do. And if we commit to it, it may well be enough. It is our gift and our responsibility to share in act and word in our larger community, which so obviously needs to be reminded of its own and others' inherent worthiness and dignity. As Unitarian Universalists, we acknowledge that as inherently worthy beings, we really are enough in ourselves, even as we fall short in much of what we do and would be, and in turn, we need each other and that which we call holy. Daily we struggle, individually and collectively, to embrace our failures and our successes and to own our shadows. We are open to the constant and incremental revelations of life, realizing that with compassion and courage, we can become wiser and more enlightened from our encounters with our own brokenness and that of others. Together, we are affirming and promoting the essential and acquired value of every person and the resulting honor and esteem due them. As we move through our lives day by day, with the joy and hope of this excellent wisdom, we in turn have a chance to make the world a wiser and more excellent place for ourselves and for all. Our inherent worth and dignity is not a badge of perfection. Rather, it is an acknowledgement of the unique and beautiful value and esteem which is ours simply by virtue of being. It also is a call to share and live this message, this gospel, this good news, this evangel of hope daily with ourselves and each other. By witnessing with our very lives and by remembering to remember when we remember, to engage in the disciplines of self-care, excellence, and wisdom, of kindness and respect, we affirm and promote and enlarge the inherent worth and dignity of all. Amen. I invite you now to join us in our closing hymn, number 145, As Tranquil Streams, in your hymnal and on the screen, and rise as you're willing and able. Please join us in our unison chalice extinguishing. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again. Kimberly Quinn Johnson offers us these words to reflect on. We are the ones we have been waiting for. We are not perfect, but we are perfectly fitted for this day. We are not without fault, but we can be honest to face our past as we chart a new future. We are the ones we have been waiting for. May we be bold and courageous to chart that new future. May we have faith in a future that is not known. We are the ones we have been waiting for. And may the Eternal bless you and protect you. May the Eternal smile on you and favor you. And may the Eternal befriend you and prosper you and all people always. Amen, and blessed be.